More than 2,250 British citizens were ordered to leave EU member states between the end of the Brexit transition period and September last year, according to figures from the Union Statistical Office. In one of my recent videos, I talked about the numbers all over the EU. But an important topic for British emigrants were the Netherlands as well. And today I want to go a bit deeper into that topic. I talked about Spain and Sweden already. And I have to talk about the huge number of resident permit applications by Britons that have been rejected in the Netherlands. According to the Dutch Immigration Service IND, as of March 2023, a total of 615 British nationals have been given leave orders by the Netherlands after Brexit. Of these, 10 have been deported, 60 have left voluntarily, and the remaining 545 are still in the Netherlands. The most common reasons for British nationals being given leave orders are, for example, that they did not reside in the Netherlands before January 1st in 2021, or they have been absent from the Netherlands for longer than permitted, or that they have failed to meet the requirements for a residence permit, or they have just committed a crime. As you know from my other videos, the Netherlands is not the only EU country that has given leave orders to British citizens after Brexit. Other countries that have done so include Sweden, Denmark, and France. The British in the Netherlands before Brexit were subject to the same Dutch rules as any other EU citizen there. EU citizens do not need a residence permit to live in the Netherlands. They can simply move to the Netherlands and start living there. However, there are a few things that EU citizens need to do in order to be legal residents, and that included the British before Brexit. EU citizens need to register with the municipality in the area where they live, and this is done by going to the town hall and filling out a form. The municipality will then issue a residence certificate, bewijs van inschrijving bij de gemeente. And EU citizens need to get a Dutch bank account as well. This is because they will need a Dutch bank account to pay their taxes and bills. And there are a number of banks in the Netherlands that offer bank accounts to EU citizens. And EU citizens need to get Dutch health insurance. This is because they are not covered by the Dutch national health insurance theme. There are a number of health insurance companies in the Netherlands that offer health insurance to EU citizens though. And EU citizens need to pay taxes in the Netherlands if they work or earn any income in the Netherlands. The amount of tax that EU citizens need to pay will depend on their income and the circumstances. And EU citizens need to renew their residence certificates every 5 years. To do this, they need to go to the municipality and fill out a form again. The municipality will then issue a new residence certificate. I will not say the Dutch version again, though. If an EU citizen fails to meet any of these requirements, they may be considered an illegal resident in the Netherlands, and this could lead to them being deported from the country. And there was quite a big number of residence permits being refused to Britons as well. According to the Dutch Immigration Service IND, as of March 2023, a total of 324,400 British nationals had applied for a residence permit in the Netherlands after Brexit. Of these, 299,400 had been granted a residence permit, 24,700 had been refused a residence permit, and 280 had withdrawn their application. And the most common reasons for British nationals being granted a residence permit are that they were living in the Netherlands before January 1st in 2021. They have a job offer in the Netherlands, or they are studying in the Netherlands, or they are married to or in a registered partnership with a Dutch national, or that they have family members in the Netherlands who are dependent on them and have been living there before the January 21 thing, legally, I mean. But there are a number of reasons why the Dutch Immigration Service IND has refused those 24,700 residence permits to British nationals after Brexit. And the most common reasons are that they did not reside in the Netherlands before January 1st, 21. Under the Brexit withdrawal agreement, British citizens who were living legally in the Netherlands before January 1st, 21 were granted the right to remain in the country. However, British citizens who move to the Netherlands after this date are subject to the same immigration rules as other third country nationals, or if they haven't registered. This means that they must apply for a residence permit if they want to stay in the Netherlands for more than 3 months. But another reason was that some people were absent from the Netherlands for longer than permitted. British citizens who have a residence permit in the Netherlands are allowed to be absent from the country for up to 6 months in any 1 year. If they are absent for longer than this, they may be refused a new residence permit. But some also have failed to meet the requirements for a residence permit. In order to be granted a residence permit in the Netherlands, British citizens must meet a number of requirements. And these include having a valid passport, being able to support themselves financially, and having a place to live. If a British citizen fails to meet any of these requirements, they may be refused a residence permit. And they just might have committed a crime, because British citizens who have committed a crime in the Netherlands will most probably be refused a residence permit. This is even the case if the crime was committed before Brexit. As of March 2023, a total of 102,000 residence permits have been refused for British nationals in the EU overall after Brexit. This figure includes residence permits that have been refused by all 27 EU member states. And to make it clear one more time, because all those fake news in the comments about the EU, the authority to grant resident permits to EU citizens and their family members and anybody else lies with the member states. However, the EU has set some common rules on who is eligible for a residence permit and those minimum conditions that must be met. The EU's rules on residence are contained in the Free Movement Directive, which was adopted in 2004. The directive sets out the rights of EU citizens and their family members to move and reside freely within the EU. The directive states that EU citizens have the right to reside in any member state for up to 3 months without any formalities. After 3 months, EU citizens must have a valid reason for their stay, such as employment, studies, or self-employment. EU citizens who have been living in a member state for 5 years are entitled to permanent residence, and this means that they can stay in the country indefinitely and are entitled to the same rights as nationals of that country. The family members of EU citizens also have the right to reside in the EU. The directive defines family members as spouses, children, and dependent parents. And the member states are free to set their own rules on the requirements for a residence permit. However, they must comply with the minimum standards set out in the Free Movement Directive. For example, the member states must not require EU citizens to have a job offer before they can apply for a residence permit. They must also allow EU citizens to bring their family members with them when they move to another member state. And the EU has also established a number of mechanisms to ensure that the member states comply with the rules of residence. The European Commission can investigate member states that are suspected of violating the rules. And the Commission can also take legal action against member states that fail to comply with the rules. And I picked the rules for EU members because those were the rules that applied to Britons before Brexit. And of course, with regard to third country citizens and their wish to be a resident, the member states are the one to have the final say. I know all this EU dictatorship nonsense and whatever is coming up here in the comments by arch Brexiteers that still haven't reached reality now. The EU doesn't decide on that. They just set some minimum standards. The member states are making their sovereign decisions on residence and immigration. They are just some basic rules the EU set. And whenever the EU sets any rules, it means it is the member states setting those rules. It's the same with the whole nonsense I always hear about Brexit. The EU has set up these rules that are shackles for Britons. None of these rules was made without the British government. None of these rules could be made without the British government. So every rule that existed that at Brexit, or let's say at the time of the referendum, was made with the consent of the British government. A lot of them were made on demand of the British government. And that is one thing why it's so ridiculous what some Brexiteers are spilling all over the internet all the time, because it's just I have to question the IQ of people spilling that. Sorry, but there's so many people talking about stuff they have no clue of, and they're just parroting other people that are using those lies on purpose. Some people really need to start to think for themselves. But nevertheless, welcome to reality. And to quote someone from the Netherlands, a very, from my point of view, very funny border guard from the early stages of Brexit implementation, welcome to the Brexit, sir. And yes, I can take my cheese and ham sandwich to the Netherlands. And if you're interested in more videos about other EU member states and residence permits or Brexit or any other thing, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.